Hello, I'm EVX3 and welcome back to the video. Today I want to answer one of the big questions that I get quite a lot on my channel when it comes to the big divide between the Pocket Edition and the console version, and it's happening even more now, especially with the two versions of console that are happening, and that is which version of the game gets more updates. Is it Pocket Edition or is it console? If I want to see more features coming in the future, which one of these two platforms will provide it for me? And although it's really easy to point out one way or the other on this, I figured why not look at the facts and talk about exactly what both platforms offer and what you'll be expecting if you want to look into the future of both the new Minecraft console and the old Minecraft console, or indeed just Pocket Edition versus console Minecraft. So hopefully you do all enjoy this video, like if you do because it helps out the channel, and let's know you do like this sort of comparison video. It's been a really long time since I've actually done one of these videos, and I actually did one on this exact same topic, but it was covering the entirety of Pocket Edition history, which wasn't entirely fair because the game was kind of neglected at the start, and the console kind of had a similar thing a few years ago, and I figured why not compare just the last 2 years since the start of 2016 to now, so we can get a full one-to-one comparison. So let's start with just the raw number, the thing you're looking for, which has had more updates in the past 2 years. Is it Pocket Edition or is it console? Well, this is kind of a tricky thing to pin down exactly, but there has been 20 console updates in the past 2 years, or again, since the start of 2016 to now, so that's technically only 18 months, but in the past 18 months there has been 20 updates for Minecraft console, and if we compare this exactly with the Pocket Edition, there has been 29 updates there. So, well, that's the video done and dusted. 29 updates on Pocket Edition, 20 updates on console. That means the Pocket Edition receives 1.45 times more updates. Okay, video's done and dusted. What do you want to do for the next few minutes? Do you want to just sit and talk about gravel? No, actually, let's go into this a bit more, because it's actually not quite so easy. You've got to bear in mind the Pocket Edition is slightly more able to have updates because, one, they're focused on doing these extra, like there isn't just such a stigma against bug fixes there for some reason, so they'll do like 10 for a single update sometimes, and also you've got to consider the fact that they have the ability to, push them out a lot faster. On console, there's a whole certification process because you're running on specialized hardware. They want to make sure it works perfectly. That's a fine thing. Whereas the Pocket Edition versions, although certain stores have something similar, it's never quite the same level of rigorous. Have you ever had a, phone game crash? That's a thing that happens, and that's because the process isn't quite so, in there. It's more just like, make sure this all works just about fine, and this means it's a lot easier to have updates on the Pocket Edition than it is to have on the console. So yeah, 29 updates versus 20 doesn't tell the full story, and it especially doesn't tell the full story of how many major updates there were. So there has been 6 major updates on the console in the past, again, 18 months, and there's been 5 major updates on the Pocket Edition. And again, even if you just say these raw numbers, it's like, oh, so the console, despite not being able to have so many, has had more major updates than the Pocket Edition. Well, I guess that's sorted then. I guess I'll be sticking with the old version of Minecraft Xbox, but even then, it's not quite that simple because out of those 6 updates, 3 of those were minigame updates for the console, which are arguably a lot of people don't care about. I think only like a solid 15% of the player base care about minigames, to put a random number out there, whereas the Pocket Edition updates, they've all had something survival related in them, so you could make the argument that that's 5 versus 3 or 5 versus 4 or whatever, and that just makes me say that when it comes to updates, I'd say the Pocket Edition probably has a slightly better future if you care about survival stuff only. I think the console versions are going to be specializing with more of these these really well-made, well-polished features, but there's a chance you don't care about them, and in that case, the Pocket Edition does better. But if you do care about these features, then the console's doing really well, because as well as having more updates in the past, as well as having more major updates, which is nice by itself, there's also a update coming out before the Pocket Edition's next update. Again, the next update for PE is 1.2, which is coming out just 2 or 3 months off this last one, whereas the console is getting an update at some point in the next month, and then there's presumably stuff coming after that too. So you got to bear in mind the console is moving at this really rapid speed, whereas the Pocket Edition is having to slow down a little bit to accommodate the console amusingly enough. But that means that right now, if you care about survival, Pocket Edition has the slight edge. But it's not even then. It's not that simple. If you're just all into the updates, then there's the other thing to consider, which is the bug fixing angle. So again, on console, I don't entirely understand why. Maybe it's because people who aren't following news quite so well. But a lot of people really hate these updates that just turn out to be nothing. There's no way for the game developers to tell you what's in an update unless it's a major one. So because people don't like bug fixes on console, you might really hate the brand new version of Minecraft console, or you might hate the Pocket Edition in comparison because there are so many of those, and these will have to come to console too. There might be less of them because they can't force out 3 bug fixes in a week, but there's still going to be bug fixes and a lot more on the brand new version too. So the other thing you got to keep in mind though is that the beta program is actually something that does exist on the Pocket Edition, at least when it comes to Android, because Android has a system for that to be in place, and I think there's no reason why the Xbox version couldn't eventually implement this, like have a beta club or something like that. That seems a bit out there and wacky, but it's something that is worth considering. So yeah, the Pocket Edition, it has slightly less updates that are major than the console, slightly more updates that are bug fixes if you just count every update with every sort of new feature, but there's the big thing that if you count beta updates, which might be coming to the console, then you've got to consider that there will be more Pocket Edition updates than there will be console updates, because there is one every single week when they're leading up to an update, and that's something really exciting. So yeah, the possibility of the idea of snapshots or beta builds coming to console is something that you could be seeing in this update, and I think that's enough for it to be swinging over. So I think which platform gets more updates? Right now, you can kind of make the argument either way. I would say console because I do care about mini games. I think a lot of people would say Pocket Edition because they don't care about those. But the thing that's really going to make it one big one way or the other is when we see the announcements of whether we'll see a beta program for, beta updates on console or not. I'd like to imagine Microsoft will do that because, they're always working on stuff for the Xbox version, but we'll see if that does pan out or not in the future. But for now, that is the conclusion of the data on today's video. I would say regardless of how you want to look at the, the stuff in here and like base your decisions on that, I would say that both the Pocket Edition and the console versions of Minecraft, or just Minecraft and the console versions of Minecraft as they're known now, I would say they both seem to be receiving more attention than the PC version. Obviously, they're still not quite caught up the PC, but they're going to be there, I would say, by the end of the year, and then after that, they're both going to be racing ahead and doing their own separate things, whereas the PC is always going to be this third edition, which is a really weird place to be in. We didn't ever think we'd see this, but it's something we have seen right now, and now we've just got to argue, like, oh, which is going further ahead? Like, do you care more about these minigames that are going ahead, or do you care about, like, random features that comes to Pocket Edition? I don't know for certain, but that's something we will see. And another thing I think we'll see is after the PE goes ahead of the PC, that means the console will start following the PE updates. So you'll see, let's say the 1.4 update comes out for Pocket Edition, and then the next update of console will loosely follow that too. So you'll probably see more new features come first to the Pocket Edition, but you'll see lots of other random like big features that are actually kind of game changing comes to the console too. So yeah, I would say both versions are going to be worth playing, and that's why I'll be doing both on my channel, just in case you are curious. Anyway, hope you did enjoy this video. Like if you liked it, share if you really liked it, subscribe if you're new around here. I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if subscribed, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.